solve the electricity bill? And have you watched the video? A quick yes and no will work. Yes, you were able to solve. Cool. So let me attach the Zoom link over here. What we're going to discuss today, it's about the pattern printing. So how many of you know how to solve the problem statement based on pattern printing? What do I mean by pattern printing? It shows structure of this sort. In your school, in your college, have you ever encountered these kinds of pattern? Yes. What about you, Ankita? Have you ever solved the problem statement based on pattern printing? No? Cool. So it doesn't matter whether you solved the particular problem statement before or not. So I just wanted to bring some context. It may happen that you have solved the problem statement based on pattern printing, but you have approached towards each pattern differently, right? What we're going to learn today, the fundamentals of pattern printing. If you understand these fundamentals, it does not matter what pattern you have to print. You will have an idea how to approach toward the particular problem statement. You can solve this. I have seen this particular problem statement in one of the TCS contest. Not sure of the exam name, but yeah, I have seen that. So shall we start discussing about the pattern printing? If you are clear with the agenda of today's session, cool. So whenever a problem statement is given it to you based on pattern printing, you have to follow certain steps. The first step is you have to establish the relationship between you have to establish the relationship between number of rows and the value of n. What do I mean by value of n? For example, let's consider let me make it as a point number 2, and let me add the first point over here. In any given pattern, the first thing which you will be reading is the value of n. So for example, let's say if n is equal to 3, let me maximize this. If n is equal to 3, you have to print something of this sort. When n is equal to 4, you have to print something of this sort. So if you notice, the structure of pattern has changed, but the number of rows has increased by just changing the value of n. Do you agree with me? So if I modify the value of n, whatever you're printing will change. So that's the first point. You have to first read the value of n, and then you have to establish the relationship between number of rows and the value of n. In this example, can you tell me if you have to print something of this sort, what is the relationship between number of rows and the value of n? What is the relationship between number of rows and the value of n? If n is 3, how many rows you are printing? If n is 3, how many rows you are printing? 3 rows. And if n is equal to 4, how many rows you are printing? 4 rows. In a mathematical term, can I say that number of rows are equal to the value of n? R is equal to n. Do you agree with this relationship? R is equal to n. Now let's say you have to print something of this sort. See, how you will print it, it's a different matter. We'll definitely discuss that. But as of now, we are learning how to establish the relationship. So if any problem statement based on pattern printing is given it to you, the first thing you have to do is to establish the relationship between the rows and the value of n. Of course, in our upcoming session, you will also learn how to print this as well. Okay. So if n is equal to 4, you have to print something of this sort. And when n is equal to 3, you have to print something of this sort. Can you help me find the relationship between number of rows and value of n? So if n is equal to 4, how many rows I am printing? If n is equal to 4, over here the relationship was r is equal to n. Over here, if n is equal to 4, how many rows I am printing? 7, right? 1, 2, let me change the color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And if n is equal to 3, how many rows I am printing? 5, right? Now, does n and r have some relationship? If yes, can you figure it out? It's a basic mathematics, I think class standard 8 or standard 10th. N minus 1. So if n is 4, number of rows are 7, not minus 1. Correct? Correct. R is equal to 2n minus 1. Do you agree with me? It's the double the value of n, but minus 1. So if n is 4, double 8 minus 1 7, n is 3, double 6 minus 1 5. Do you agree with me? So most of the problem statement which you will see, you will find this particular pattern. Okay. Now, once you do so, just give me a minute. Let me see if there is any response in the live chat. Cool guys, let's take it forward. These basic DSAs run, can you provide me step-by-step way to how to press the problem in code force? So do we need any math and statics knowledge with DSA to be able to solve code force problem? Priyabrata, I don't think so. You need much of the mathematics knowledge, but if you're good at permutation, combination, probability, that's going to help you in some of the problem statement. And yes, you have to notice the pattern, and based on that, you have to apply the mathematical concept. So let's say there is one problem statement which require one of the mathematical concept, but if you notice that that particular problem statement is not even asked in multiple companies, so we can ignore such kind of corner scenarios. So your first focus should be to learn what all is being asked into the company. Okay, cool guys. Let's take it forward and let's stick to this particular concept as of now. Okay. Once you're able to find the relationship between the number of rows and the value of n, the third thing we should do is to establish the relationship between value of n and r with c. So r denotes no, denotes row, n denotes your input, and c denotes the number of column. So let's look into this particular pattern. If let's say n is equal to 3, you have to print something of this sort, and okay, and something of this sort when n is equal to 4. So can you help me? How many columns are there in each pattern? So in the first pattern, how many columns are there? In the first pattern, 3. In the second pattern, 4. So column has a relationship with what? Column has the relationship with what? Can I say that column has the relationship with the value of n? And I can say that C is equal to n. Priyabrata, did I answer your question? If yes, you can respond in the chat. Cool. Definitely. So Ankita, the inference over here, we will just not focus on C when you're trying to establish a relationship with column. Okay. Now, let's say if I will give you something of this sort. If n is equal to 3, and if let's say n is equal to 4, you have to print something of this sort. Can you help me? What is the relationship now? And whether a C has the relationship with the value of n or C has the relationship with the value of r. And what is the relationship? Can you try to identify that? If yes, then we can move forward. Column are from 1 to n, correct? But what is the relationship? Let's try to find it out. What is the row number? Row number is 1 here. What is the row number over here? 2. And row number 3. If row number is 1, how many columns do we have? We have only one column. If row number is 2, we have 2 columns. If row number is 3, we are having 3 columns. So can I say that number of columns in each row is equal to the row number? Do you agree with me? That C is equal to R? Everyone, is it clear? If it's clear, we can move forward. It's clear, right? Cool. Now, if you are able to do, if you are able to go through all this step, let's look into the fourth thing. Whenever you're printing something, I believe we print row wise. What do I mean by that? Let's say if you want to print something, let's say you want to print these star. Will you print first row, second row, third row, or will you print first column, second column, and then third column? What do we prefer? First one or the second one? Row wise or the column wise? Whenever you want to print something, how do you actually print in the screen? Row wise or the column wise? Brother, we print row wise, right? I mean, let's say you're here, you printed something over here, you move to the next row, you can't go up, right? Okay, so we print row wise. Correct, correct, right. I get it. I thought you just made the typo mistake. Let's look into the fifth point. Whenever you're printing something, generally, you have to print either star or hash or white space or the row number or the column number. If it's a binary matrix, you may print 0 or 1. Okay, so most of the problem statement, you have to print any one of these things in most of the problem statement. So if we are clear with all these steps, shall we move toward the first problem statement? I'll share the hacker rank link. I'll expect that you will go and solve that particular problem statement. Okay, let's take it forward. If n is equal to 3, you have to print something of this sort. And if n is equal to 4, you have to print something of this sort. Now, can you tell me what is the relationship between number of rows and the value of n? By looking into these two patterns, can you tell me what is the relationship between them? R is equal to n. R is equal to n, right? If n is 3, there are 3 rows, Rudra. And if n is 4, there are 4 rows, not n minus 1. Agreed? What about column? C is equal to n. And yes, we missed one of the important point. Um, okay, we discussed that. So generally, let me call it a 6 point and let me write it over here. Yeah. So whenever you're printing something, outer loop is for the number of rows and inner loop is for the columns. It can happen that outer loop is 1. There can be multiple inner loops, generally 2 or 3. Sorry, generally between 1 to 3. Okay. Yeah. Let's take it forward. Now, the first for loop will be for the number of rows. So can you tell me what should be the starting value of your for loop and what should be the last value of your for loop? We are talking about the outer loop. Outer loop is for the number of rows. So what is the value of your first row? What is the value of your first row? 1, 1 to n. So can I say that I should go r equal to 1, r less than or equal to n, and r plus plus? Do you guys agree that this loop is going to execute for n number of times? If n is 3, it will execute 3 times. If n is 4, it's going to execute 4 times. Now, can I say that after execution, once it completes one execution, I should move to the next row? Do you agree with me? After each execution, in each execution, it should print the columns and move to the next row. So how to print the column, we will see, but we should move to the next row, right? After the completion of each execution. So can I say that it's simply print slash n? If you will print slash n, you will move to the next line. In Java, you can write sysout system.out.println, right? It will move to the next line. Now, for each row, how many columns do we have to print? In each row, how many columns do we have to print? N columns. So if I have to print n columns, what should be the starting value? C equal to 1, C less than or equal to n, and C plus plus. And over here, I can write print star. Now, you guys tell me, is it required that I should trace this particular problem statement or you are able to understand? If you're able to understand, we'll move forward. If it's required to trace, we can trace it. Ankita, Riyajul able to understood. What about you, Rudra? Is it clear to you? Or do you want me to trace it out? Clear? Okay, let's move forward. Let's say you have to print something of this sort. If n is equal to 3 and if n is equal to 4. Can you help me with the conditions? R is equal to what? And C is equal to what? R is equal to N and C is equal to R. Can I say that program will remain exactly same instead of N? You can simply replace it over from R over here for the second problem statement. Is this clear to everyone? If yes, we can move forward. Else we can have a discussion. Guys, let me know. Is it clear or not? You can simply say no if it's not clear to you. It's clear to Riyajul. What about you? Rudra, clear? Ankita, is this clear or shall we have a discussion around this? Because it's important to understand how these things work. If you're clear, we can move forward. It's not clear to you? Cool. So let's say, do you agree that the outer loop will be for the number of rows? And I can simply write for int I equal to 1, sorry, r equal to 1, r less than or equal to n and r plus plus. Is this part clear to you? Yes. And what I can do, I can write sysout or print slash n, right? Now, can I say that this loop is going to run for n times? Agreed? And how it is going to run? First time value of r will be 1, then value of r will be 2, then value of r will be 3, and let's assume that n is equal to 3. As soon as value of r will become 4, it will come out of this loop. Do you agree with that? Now, when value of r is equal to 1, can I say that I have to print the first row? When value of r is equal to 1, I have to print the first row. When value of r is equal to 2, I have to print the second row. So can I say that over here, I should write down the logic to print the column? And if C is equal to R, can I say that value of C will start equal to 1 and it will go till R? Because that's the relationship, right? Number of columns in each row depends on the value of R. So if R is 1, how many times this inner loop is going to execute? If R is 1, how many times inner loop? One time. So it will print only one star. Then slash n. So we'll move to the next line. Next time R value will upgrade to 2. If R value is 2, this loop will execute for 2 times. Agreed? If this value will execute for 2 times, you have to print star 2 times. So if it's clear, we can move forward. Clear? Okay. Now, what I'll do, I'll increase the difficulty. I'll increase the difficulty because you're able to understand. So we'll jump to the um, thought pattern. Let's see whether you're able to identify this particular, whether you're able to solve this particular problem statement or not. A very simple way is to establish the relationship. Over here are the white spaces. So there are 2 white space, 1 white space. Over here, 3 white space, 2 white space. White space is nothing but your space. Okay. Now, can you tell me what is the relationship of number of rows with the value of n? R is equal to what in this pattern? R is equal to n. So if n is 3, you have to print 3 rows. If n is 4, you have to print 4 rows, right? That part is clear to you. Now, whatever you're printing inside a row, can I say that I can split into two parts? The first part is space and the second part is star. So I'll denote star by C. What is the relationship between number of star in each row with the value of n or with the value of r? C is equal to what? C denotes star here. In each row, how many stars are there? And what is the relationship? C is equal to R. Is this clear to everyone? Rudra, Ankita, is it clear that C is equal to R? It denotes the star. Now, can I say that there is also something to print which is nothing but white space? Can you find the relationship between white space either with the value of R or with the value of N? Whatever you're printing internally, just try to find the relationship between either with the value of R or with the value of N. You only have two options. So can you tell me what is the relationship here? Anyone? R goes from n minus 1 to 0. That's a very good observation. Let's see. Over here, n is 4. So it is 4 minus 1, which is 3. Agreed? Over here, n will remain 4. And you're saying 4 minus 1, 2, 0. So 4 minus 2, which is 2. 4 minus 3, 1. 4 minus 4 equal to 0. You're right. But I cannot write 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I have to, because this value is changing dynamically. I can say that 4 is nothing but n, but n minus something, right, will give you the white space. What is this something? If you see answer is written in the whiteboard, you have to just uh, analyze. Guys, do you understand this n minus something? Correct, n minus r. Ankita and Rudra, is this part clear to you? N minus r will give you the white space because it's first row, so 4 minus 1, second row 4 minus 2, third row 4 minus 3, fourth row 4 minus 4. Now, can I say that r is equal to n is for the outer loop? Correct? And can I say that for each outer loop, I should execute two inner loop? One is to print the star and one is to print the white space. Because before moving to the next line, I have to make sure all the white spaces and all the stars are printed. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Before moving to the next line, I should print the star and the white space. Now, what should I print first? Should I print white space first or should I print the star first? White space first. So let's write down the logic for the, okay, let me increase the thickness. So int r is equal to 1 and r should go till what? R is equal to 1, r should go till what? N and r plus plus. I think it's pretty much clear, right? R is equal to 1, r less than n, less than or equal to n, and r plus plus. And over here, I should write down print slash n, right? Now here, first I should write down the logic to print white space. Can I say that again? The way I was converting the condition, similarly, I'll convert this condition. So for int wb is equal to 1, wb less than or equal to n minus r, and wb plus plus. Do you agree with this condition or not? See, whatever the relationship you have identified, I'm just converting into the condition. Ankita and Rudra, is this clear to you? What about you, Ankita? Is it clear? Okay. See, see, you have to develop that intuition. Every time you cannot trace and solve the particular problem statement, just for your understanding or just for the clarity, you can do it for some of the problem statement, but you have to develop that intuition. Okay, this condition will be get converted, and my code will work. You have to show the trust in your code. Okay. So let's say print white space. I can simply double quotes and one simple space, right? White space. Should I write print? Should I move to the next line or should I first write in the logic to print the star? Logic to print the star, right? And it's similar to the previous problem statement. And C is equal to 1, C less than or equal to R, and C++ and print star. So we have solved these three problem statements. And if you notice that three problem statements are totally different, but once you establish the relationship, can I say that there is a pattern in which you can solve those problem statements? I mean, each pattern is related to other pattern as well in some or the other way if you establish the relationship. So how many of you know this particular technique before? Anyone? No? Okay. Because I invented it. So I'm not sure if you know who has taught you this. Cool. It's a simple observation, guys. It can happen that someone else can also come up with these. But yeah, as of now, I can claim that these are my inventions. Okay, let's move forward. This is the next pattern. And I'll share this particular whiteboard as well as with you. So that you can have a quick revision. How many of you are making your own notes? Anyone? First of all, are you making your notes or not? No? Okay. Guys, please make notes. Everything is available on the YouTube. You can watch it forward, but please make notes because you may remember what you learned today, but let's say you want to revise. You won't have the time to watch each and every video, right? So when I was learning DSA, I created my own notes. It was around 400 pages, 4 to 500 pages. It was like Bible to me. I make sure that I'm revising the entire notes every month. You will reach a state where you won't be requiring the notes because uh, you will be solving each and every complex problem statement on the weekly basis, daily basis. So that complex problem statement will give you the revision of your notes. But in the initial phase, yes. Okay. So these are two different problem statement. Let's look into the first one. If n is equal to 3, you have to print something of this sort. When n is equal to 4, you have to print something of this sort. So let's leave what you have to print. Can I say that the structure looks similar to this one? Either this particular problem statement or this particular problem statement. Structure is same, whatever you're printing is getting changed. Do you agree with that? So combine, can I say that R is equal to what and C is equal to what for both the problem statements? R is equal to what and C is equal to what? If you have to print something of this sort. R is equal to N and C is equal to C is equal to what? Ankita, Rudra, if you can respond. Are you able to understand so far? Or am I the only one who is learning? So you have to respond, right? Okay. R is equal to N and C is equal to R. Now, what is the next step? Can I say that everything is same? If R is equal to N, C is equal to R, can I say that the structure of your loop will also remain same? Agreed? Whatever you're printing, that is getting changed. So can you help me? Instead of printing star, what should I print in this case? And over here also, R is equal to N, C is equal to R. You have to just tell me what should I print. If you want, you can look into this fifth point. Generally, you have to print star, hash, row number, column number, or 0 or 1. Generally. So can you tell me what exactly you have to print here? You have to print the row number correct with. So can I say that? Can I say that row number is 1, you're printing 1. If row number is 2, you're printing 2. If row number is 3, you're printing 3. If row number is 4, you're printing 4. So whatever the row number is, I have to print that. And row number is denoted by R. So I can simply print R and my problem statement will be done. Agreed? Riazul, is it clear to you? Yeah. Okay. Let's look it over here. What you have to print in this particular case. So this will be the last problem statement of a day, because what I want that you should solve these 4 to 5 problem statement, get a hang of it. Tomorrow will increase the complexity of it. What you have to print over here. Anyone? Riazul? Okay, Ruth, your answer is right. Um, C is equal to R plus 1. Okay. See, can I say that for this entire row, can I say that value of R is fixed? That will be 3. Do you agree with me, Ankita? For this third row, for this entire row, value of R will be fixed 3. So 3 plus 1 will give you 4 at each stage. Correct? If you write, so what she's saying, she will print C equal to, she will print R plus 1. So if you print R plus 1, that's a problem, right? Now, can you tell me, this is the first column, right? This is your second column, and this is your third column, and this is your fourth column. So what you're printing over here? You're printing the column number. You're printing the column number. It may require that you need to trace it down. If it's required, you can definitely do that. If not, we have already uploaded the video regarding this particular trace. You can also go through that. So I just want that you should do some brainstorming. And I'm happy that you're able to understand 4 problem statement without even required to trace it down. That's a good thing, and that's a positive sign. Okay. So if you have any doubts, we can have the discussion, or